Hey, what's going on, guys? We have Hannah here. She just got done competing at the games on a team. Hannah, how's it going?
It's going great. How about yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. We are in the hot box room again for this one. So, well, I don't know if it's, I guess the hot sauna room. I guess. I don't know if it's necessarily the hot box. That could be another fun podcast.
That could also be another fun podcast. But yeah, I feel like every so often we should just say what the temperature is.
That's what we did last time.
Okay.
Christian tried to open the door up last time. We shut it on him. And we started out at 86 when we got in here. We're up to 87 now. I think we finished at 88 last time. Okay.
Okay, so that wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I don't think, did we have the light last time? We did?
Oh, no, not that one.
Yeah, that one, okay, so we might be able to get up to 89. That's the goal. We'll see.
89. Let's do
89.
This is going to be a long podcast.
Yeah. Just, Hannah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, hi, I'm Hannah. I'm a 2-time CrossFit Games athlete on a team. Recently graduated chiropractic school, so I'm a full-blown doctor. But that's really it about me.
Yeah. What are you a doctor of?
I'm a doctor of chiropractic.
Yep.
So DC for short. So most of the time people just think of chiropractors of, you get an adjustment, a little crack, 3 minutes in, you're in and out. I'm a little bit more different. I love the manual therapy and rehab side of things. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I'm a good cross between a chiropractor, a physical therapist, and then also that like strength and conditioning coach since I've coached CrossFit for 7 years too.
Yeah. Do you feel like I don't know if this is offensive, but I call a lot of like PTs and chiros and like massage therapists, I just call them healers, and I kind of almost like, they do different things, but I almost like lump them into one category.
So no, it's not offensive whatsoever.
Okay.
I think the same way. I believe just we all have different schoolings, but we all do very similar things. Yeah. And it could be that just like I know a little bit more about kind of the passive side of medicine more than a physical therapist. Whereas, and then the physical therapist knows a little bit more about active movement than the massage therapist. So we can all work together, but we all pretty much have like a similar knowledge base, and then you can work off of. It's not like we're in like our, like I only adjust and adjust only. Like I can definitely branch out, and I believe all of us can do that.
Right. I was gonna say, it seems like it's just kind of trending to like being like everybody does a baseline of like manual therapy. You guys get like the adjustment side of things, and then like everybody's kind of trending to like active therapy. But then it's like you kind of shade more towards like you have the adjustments, the PT has more of like the exercise correction. But it seems like everybody's kind of like working under this one baseline and then like shading different directions. I don't know if that's kind of like how the industry's progressing, or
that's what I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know with me, I'm not gonna, I know a lot about rehab and exercise correction, things along those lines, but I definitely know like where like too far. And I was like, I know when something's outside of my scope.
For sure.
Like returning somebody to football is probably not my deal.
Gotcha.
I can work with a CrossFit athlete just based off of my experience in a gym, in the gym, and doing this for forever now.
Right.
So I definitely know when I need to refer out to somebody that knows a little bit more.
Yeah.
Even sometimes on the manual therapy side of things, with me, it's like, okay, like, no, this is going to take time with a massage therapist that knows just a little bit more about that side of thing than I do. And I'm totally fine with referring. And I know like some people don't see it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're all just trying to get people better.
For sure.
I feel like we should all help each other. But then also like know like a little bit about each space.
Yeah. Like almost if you had like a network of people and you're like, oh, I know this person works really well with like this type of injury or athlete, like I'll send them over here type thing.
Right.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay, so how did you get into CrossFit?
So I got into CrossFit. I was watching ESPN for the 2013 games, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
who's that? That was like the clean ladder.
Yeah, I was at the clean ladder.
Yeah.
I just remember seeing Sam Briggs. I was pretty small. A small athlete. I was actually training for the military, trying to get to the Naval Academy at that point.
Nice,
so
okay.
I felt like I was very enduring.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my gosh, this girl just won the CrossFit Games. This is dope. She's kind of like, I kind of fit that profile.
Yeah.
And my dad said, hey, our family friend does this. I'm like, she does this? What's on TV? No.
No.
Not anything close to it.
Yeah.
So
was it like you showed up and she like does like kind of like a boot camp just at higher intensity, or was
it was CrossFit, but of course it's not like at the intensity or the ability level as of what they do at the games.
Yeah, it was more like kind of like a class type thing.
It was like the Saturday partner workout that I joined, and I just remember it was like a mix of rowing, power cleans, wall balls, and toes to bar. Yeah. And I didn't know like how to do a toe to bar. Still don't know to this day, unfortunately. But I was hooked. Yeah. In 2013, I was starting my junior year of high school. Okay. Yeah. So I jumped in here and there, mainly just did the partner workouts just because I did school sports. I pretty much did everything under the sun. Okay. And then instead of playing basketball my senior year, I was like, I want to do this CrossFit thing, full on. I'm barely 5'4". Basketball's not my sport. Yeah. So I was like, no, let me see what I can do. Plus I was having such a great time. Just it was so much fun. So I just started that and haven't looked back.
That's sweet. So you junior year full time, you hit it hard. So when you went to college, like, was there any fall? I know a lot of people have a little bit of fall off. Was there any fall off for you, or like?
No, I just kept training through it. Sweet. So that was me. I mean, the first thing I did was just find the gym that I wanted to go to. Okay. Immediately it was like I got my L1 in October of my first year in college. Okay. And then immediately just tried to start coaching and just dove all in at that. Sweet. I feel like all of my actual college friends were the grad students that could afford CrossFit, and then I somehow at least managed my way to get coaching, so I could do it for free. You're like,
I can coach for free.
Yeah, I was like, I could do this to afford this gym. Yeah. So that's all my friends came from CrossFit. Mm-hmm. I feel like even just like extracurriculars, I was like president of the CrossFit club on campus. School? Yeah.
You were like hooked, like Kool-Aid.
Yes, I was. But that was like the height. I feel like it was like the peak height of CrossFit in like that 2015, 2016 time frame.
Yeah, 14 to 16, it was on the rise.
Yeah. It was huge, and I loved every second of it. And then I went to a gym where we had really competitive people, like borderline regionals, a few masters athletes. So also competition was pushed there. Okay. So
what gym was that?
It was CrossFit Charlottesville.
Where's that at?
In Virginia. So it's right at the base of the Blue Ridge. Okay. Actually, the other CrossFit gym that was in town, like at that time, Solidarity CrossFit, they had 3 semifinals athletes this year.
That gym sounds familiar.
Yeah, so they're our competitor. Yeah. And they kind of ever since I left, they became the competitor's gym. Oh, okay. Yeah, so now I'd probably go there.
Yeah. It's so funny.
It's oh my gosh, that could be a whole podcast.
Yeah, right. Just CrossFit drama.
Seriously. Yeah. But in college it was I wasn't good enough for collegiate athletics. I got close enough. I helped out the athletic trainers. Okay. And along with a chiropractor that was at my gym, that's kind of how I fell into going to chiropractic school and going that route. Okay. But yeah, I just did CrossFit a lot.
Yeah. So when did you graduate in 2018 then, right?
Yeah, so I graduated in 2018 and then took I was just a full-time CrossFit coach for a year in between undergrad and grad school. Yep. And then moved to Florida in 2019 to start chiropractic school.
Gotcha. And when did you guys qualify for the games the first time?
So we qualified in 2021.
And that was West Chase, right?
Yeah, that was with CrossFit West Chase. Yep. I think it was actually kind of, I don't know, fate. It was really cool because I got to, in 2019, go to Filthy 150 as an individual athlete. Oh, nice, yeah. That was when I dabbled in individual for a little bit. Yeah. And that whole, 2019-2020 season, it was, all right, I went to Wadapalooza on a team. Mm-hmm. I was going to do the Mid-Atlantic CrossFit Challenge as an individual, go to another comp as a team, because I kind of caught the Kool-Aid. I'm like, maybe I should do this individual.
Second round of Kool-Aid. Yeah. The competitor Kool-Aid.
Yeah, exactly. But then COVID happened, and then coming back in 21, so the owner of the gym is Aaron Hanna. He was a 2015 Games athlete. Mm-hmm. He approached me and said, hey, we are considering doing a team for the Games. he wanted to do it for West Chase along with my other two teammates. They Kim DeCray and Dylan Bailey. They were they're multi-year regionals athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hey, like I think like we actually have a pretty good shot,
mm-hmm.
and we're this cool homegrown team, which is like that's what we cavaliered around.
Okay.
So I was like, heck yeah, like I want to go team anyway.
Yeah.
So just did that and made the games.
Sweet. Yeah, that's awesome. And that year was what semifinal were you guys at that year?
We were at MAC that year.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That was an interesting year. 'Cause like, so like I was kind of like already on the back end of my career. I retired in 2018 and then got pulled back in. It was interesting because like you saw, because of COVID, you kind of saw a dip in ability level of individuals that qualified that year, like teams specifically. Not to try and take anything.
No, I totally understand that. Trust me.
You obviously went back and qualified, so like, but it was an interesting year because like you kind of saw some teams that kind of got in more so because they kept training hard throughout, and like they were consistent, and I think like, not that you guys weren't consistent, but like that was I think a big component of being able to go from 2020 to 2021 games, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean I saw that even when at the 2022 semifinal.
Yeah.
I knew it was like the team that I was on wasn't gonna make it.
Yeah.
But of course we're gonna try our best. Right. The level of competition just exponentially increased
from 2021 to 2022.
Yes.
Was wild.
Yeah.
It was like everybody was like, oh, we're training again.
Yeah. And to be honest, I was just surprised we got top 10. I was like, this is great.
This is
like
great. Yeah.
We're not near top 5, but I mean, hey, we got like 8th or something like that.
Oh man, that's solid.
I was like totally fine with that.
Yeah.
And even the other CrossFit West Chase team that I mean ultimately made it to the CrossFit Games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean they actually placed 7th at semifinals in 2022.
Right.
And they were lights out in training.
Yeah.
They thought they're easily gonna make it.
Yeah.
And then they didn't make it.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for backfilling.
Right.
So
right. Yeah.
I think 2021 and we definitely, I feel like we went in kind of knowing that. At least at the games, and then even going into the season, it's like, hey, it's going to be exponentially harder because people can actually train again.
Right.
And we live in Florida; it's kind of easier.
Yeah.
And like, I went back to Virginia and I just trained at my best friend's in his garage.
Oh. Okay.
So like, I could definitely keep up training.
Right.
So could all of my teammates that year.
Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely saw like the stark difference.
Yeah. And so from 2022 now to 2023, what would you say like the biggest difference between like the level of athlete at semifinals for teams were? If that makes sense.
Since we could actually have super teams this year, I think that changed everything.
Yeah.
I mean, like after day one, it's like we're in 10th, and I thought we're easily gonna qualify.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, like everyone. It's just got even better. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
So I think like the change from last year to this year is if you make a mistake, people are going to capitalize on it. A lot of people say that like at the games. I'd say like more so, but I mean at semifinals, especially the East region, it was like if you made one mistake, that was going to cost you like a 5th place spot to 13th, just because everybody was so close.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest difference I saw between last year and this year. At least at the semifinals level.
So it's more so like the ability level. Obviously, it increases year to year, right? But there wasn't as much of a jump from 21 to 22 as there was from 22 to 23.
Right.
It was more so. And I guess the region was different too. It was like 60 teams. They're taking 10, but it was more so like you had to execute super well as a team. Now,
exactly.
Versus like you have to have like a crazy capacity. Is that
yeah. I mean, like to say, it's like we got we were also at MAC in 2022. We got like dead last on a workout and still got like 8th or 9th overall.
Right.
Even though there's 20 teams, but then again, like I said, I remember the thruster ring muscle up workout at semifinals this year for teams, and we basically everybody was between like 10 and finishing around like 13 synchro muscle ups. And unfortunately, we got like 11, and there's so many teams that got 12 or 13.
Okay.
And I was like, oh no, like that. Like that shot us down the leaderboard because there's so many ties and there's no tie breaks.
Gotcha.
So it's just like and it could just be the change in programming now. I think it is more execution based nowadays than just grind hard.
Yeah.
So it could be also that change of programming, but I mean, let's see, like Proven was technically a super team. Technically, we were a super team. I mean, our guys don't live here.
Yeah.
I mean, so many of like you don't really see homegrown teams anymore.
Yeah, it's honestly like you could see it back in like what was it 2015 when Rich went team. It was like that's the direction the sport's trending. You're not gonna homegrown talent. Not that you can't do it, but like you're definitely
very hard.
You're gonna have people that are gonna recruit people in. They're gonna offer them a coaching position or whatever at their gym, and they're gonna train you around as a team. Like you could see that was the direction that it was trending.
Exactly.
And like, yeah, now it's like almost to the. I still think it's gonna continue to kind of like trend in that direction. Like you guys would probably need to have like a training spot if that makes sense for year round. But yeah, it's definitely moving that direction. We'll just see if more money gets in, honestly.
Right. And I mean, you're seeing with now Noah and Chandler going hinting about going team. I mean, Noah said something. Rich going team. I think as more names get into team that have come from individual and made that transition, more eyes and more money are going to go that way.
Hopefully, yeah.
And I mean, I really do think so.
Yeah.
I think this year took a dip just because a lot of the big names stepped out this year.
Yeah.
Of course, like, I mean, you have like the household names like Invictus.
Right.
Also was like somewhat on like at least the team side.
Yeah.
Proven.
Yeah.
You have those big team names that you know, but I mean, I am such a fan of like the Invictus squad and the people on the Proven squad because I've looked up to them. But those aren't, the big individual names.
Right. Which is unfortunate because like Andrea, back in like when we qualified in 2016, it was like Andrea and Kelly on our team. If they had gone individual that year, they would have both been individual games athletes. And like Andrea's qualified by herself.
Exactly.
And she's like a freak athlete, and it's like no one really knows about her because she just goes team she's the girl that won with Rich,
Right. Yeah. And it's like that. Yeah. It's like really the only reason like they know her. I'm like, oh my gosh, no.
No, like she's really fucking good.
No, yeah. I'm like, you will get slaughtered.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. The workouts this year at the games, we just did like a podcast group, and he's like, they killed the team workouts this year. Like,
I absolutely love the team workouts. Yeah. I wish I got to do like the more CrossFit-y ones.
Yeah,
of course, those were the final day that we got cut. But I thought they knocked him out of the park.
Yeah.
We had like such a variance. It was fun seeing us actually get tested rather than, I feel like in 21 it was so much just how much were you willing to hurt?
Yeah.
Whereas again, it was like more towards this execution and saying like, and not shying away from the harder skills for teams.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, I feel like we didn't do as much skill-based stuff.
It was a lot more work capacity in the past.
Yes.
Yeah. With the 100-foot handstand walk back to back, like that's. Honestly, I'm still like blown away that they did that for teams.
So. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
Or actually having to do a bunch more seated legless rope climbs.
Yeah.
Even the holds and the strict ring muscle ups. Or the parallel dips. Definitely adding a lot more from years past in chunks. I really do think it was really cool that. They are saying, oh no, these team athletes can do what the individuals do.
Yeah.
I train just like, we train just like Alexis. But even though Alexis blew us out of the water all this time, we're still doing the same training.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing, like, I wish they would highlight teams more, just because, like, you have, like, freak athletes on teams. They might just be skewed a little bit more towards, like, a power output athlete, where they're not going to be enduring enough to ever break into an individual games level, but they still do really freakish things out on the competition floor,
Like, absolutely. I mean, it's even, like, seeing Tim Paulson, he smashed the echo bike at the end of that whole workout,
yeah.
which I was like, dang, I wish that would have happened because I wouldn't have got on the bike. But like you see that, you see huge lifts. You definitely see that more in the team aspect of things. And I think, I mean, that's what people love about CrossFit, which is really cool. So, I mean, like I said, like I hope year after year it gets a little bit better and team does get more coverage.
Yeah.
But there's also, I do get it to a certain point of team workouts are a little bit more complicated. And they're very hard to grasp if you're not in the sport of CrossFit.
Yeah.
Even if you are in the sport of CrossFit.
Yeah.
I remember I didn't see what the final workout was, but just seeing just like the earthworm and everybody fall apart. It was kind of like, oh man.
Like,
I was like, how many lunges did they do? I don't know. This team did 13. This one did like 11.
Yeah.
How many thrusters?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, like I can understand where people are coming from saying it was confusing.
Yeah.
But I think it is getting a lot better and a little bit more just like easier to watch and more fun to watch.
Yeah. What are your ideas on fixing that? Like, how do you fix the confusing aspect of it? Because, we're at 88.
Oh, man. All right, we're almost there. Once it's at 89, it's like, podcast is over. Man, unfortunately, I don't know. Because I feel like some of the more complicated workouts are just the fun ones as someone actually doing it. Saying, like, the parallel bar one that we had where, okay, when they were explaining it was so confusing. But it was like, okay, maybe instead of, okay, the parallel bars, you always do 21, and then the sandbag goes down and the deadlifts go down. Just make it the same reps, so it's not as confusing.
Yeah.
That's really the one that stood out to me this year. And then, the earthworm one was fine once I figured out what the workout was.
Yeah, right.
Or when at semifinals, the first workout where we all had a station, but then 2 stations had to be like done twice and you had a flip-flop. My boyfriend, who doesn't do CrossFit whatsoever, he was so confused at that.
He's like, what just happened?
Like, why did they switch? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Why do they continue the switch?
Yeah.
It was like, okay, like maybe, we didn't even know until like, the day of.
Right.
So, maybe like that could have been, a little bit more streamlined.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But like I said, at the same time, the somewhat complexity of it, that's why I love team is the strategy along with the camaraderie.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh man, like if you make them more simple, you do kind of take that strategy out of it.
For sure. I mean, I'm like, obviously you probably saw from the camp, like I love strategy and workouts, and like that's kind of like one of the big things that I harp on with my athletes is like, how do you game plan this for the best optimal score in this workout, And that's why team's so much fun is there's going to be an unknown component about that workout always. And it's like, how do you attack it to get your best score and beat other teams on it? And you can just out-strategize people so well in team. It's just
it's so true.
Yeah.
I think that's a sense of there's definitely workouts that I think in quarterfinals we really gamed well. That helped us out a ton. And then I definitely know that there's workouts that it's like at the games that it's like if we learned like right then and there, it's like we didn't have time to strategize or come up with the best plan, and those are the ones that maybe fell apart. But yeah, like I feel like actually the strategy and team, if you get the right one, you can get a top 3 finish.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, whereas like in individual, sometimes like you can be on plan D and still get top 3 as well.
Yeah.
So, but it could be just because you can, again, like you have the more power output athletes. You definitely have the more like sprint type. I think movement speed comes into play a lot on team.
For sure.
So it's like, okay, if you game that, great. Yeah. And you're going to do a home run. But if like something goes wrong, it does like plummet you down the leaderboard.
For sure. It's way higher risk for reward, but like also loss as well.
Right.
Yeah, and honestly, like if you look at a lot of the sport inside of I would say, so like the way that I look at it is like U.S. is the predominant the predominant population of the sport, right? And like most sports in the U.S. are all team-based sports. Like you have golf, and that's like kind of the only individual sport that the U.S. has. Over in Europe, like they have a little bit more like individual-esque like mindset towards it, but your biggest population is like the U.S. that's doing it. I just don't understand why they wouldn't have focused on teams because of that and
Right.
like built up the team side of things. Like I
Or
have always questioned that.
like I said, it's the affiliate cup.
Yeah,
So
right.
like, I mean, I know like CrossFit more, or I mean, when it was like really first kicking off, it's like, man, like these are like these people are representing affiliates.
Yeah.
And you know, and that's what like CrossFit can like really go into
For
to
sure.
get the affiliates to, you know, support the games
Yeah.
and to get more people into affiliates.
Right.
Granted, it can go the other way too.
Right.
Because like that can definitely happen where now like other affiliates are being like, you can't go there because you're not competitive.
Yeah.
But you can just like champion around. That's what we loved about just like the affiliate cup feeling at West Chase.
Mm-hmm.
Was because it was 4 of us that are at the same gym, working out together all the time, and that actually brought like so much support from the community and built us up, like even in the area.
Right. Yeah. Because that was my experience too with team, was like we worked out of one gym. Like super teams weren't completely there yet.
Yeah.
And like, dude, the amount of support that you get from your gym only, and then like honestly just the surrounding area.
Right.
I obviously went to the games, but like I had a name for myself just because of that in all of Minnesota, you know?
Right.
And it's like people supported you from like a city 2 hours away. They're like, good luck, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just super cool to have more than just your gym behind you. But like now it's like, I don't know, it just feels like it's not, the gym isn't as supportive because you're bringing in these random people, you know?
Right. And I was like, I definitely, I mean, I felt that this year, just because of the change.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool because I was like, I got to, at least just like, I got to represent a training organization.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it would have been so much different if it was for like the affiliate that we work out at versus the training organization, just because it's like, oh man, you have the entire community behind you.
Right.
I mean, luckily, it's like I still, you know, kind of carry that from my West Chase days.
Yeah.
And having them be like, oh my gosh, good luck. It was really, and like that was really cool.
Yeah.
And even just like people in the area saying like, no, you are the local team. Like this is awesome, that like we could like, all right, like I feel like the like you said, like the whole state gets around you.
Right.
You're like, oh, it's like, oh man, it's like, all right, even if I do live 3 hours away, it's like you still represent Georgia, so the Georgia CrossFit community, so go up and smash it.
Right.
Which I think is super cool and super unique.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I will say in 2021 that was one of the cool things, is it did have more of that like affiliate cup feel to it still. Because you honestly that year you just had a lot more homegrown teams who were like, we're just all training together because no one can really travel right now.
Right. It's like, it's like seriously, or it's like, oh hey, we like at least trained together through COVID, like at the park.
Yeah.
Together. It could definitely did that, but it was really cool because I mean, take Mac. It was, of course we had Mayhem there, but. I know like the Lone Star team, they're all from the same gym. West Chase, we were. TTT, of course, they're like basically all coaches. I mean, they're all coaches there.
Yeah.
And then the Reignited team, all from the same gym.
Yeah.
So it was like literally, like besides Mayhem, everybody was a homegrown team.
Yeah.
Which is super cool.
Super cool. Yeah.
So and going into this year, at least there was like some here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the majority was we moved here.
Yeah, I think you'll always have some there, but it's like their ability to like be at the top of the leaderboard, I think, is just going to continue to kind of like fall down. But you'll probably always have some there, but they're just not going to be as competitive.
Right. Or it depends on like how long they've been working out together.
Yeah.
Because like I always see like the Coda CrossFits and Kilo.
Right.
And they're always like the same team. They're always the same team. Maybe like they change out one person. That has been a part of the crew, but like it finally like made it to the team.
Right.
It's really cool seeing their names there like, every single year.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of jealous all the time. I'm like, man, you guys like really make it every single year as like this team, and I think that's really cool because you get to see that teamwork does matter too.
Yeah,
it's not like it's not just 4 individual athletes coming together, and hopefully it shakes out.
I mean, I think you actually see that a lot since what year is it? Don't Stop. I can't remember what year that was.
Oh yeah, 2018, I think.
Yeah. It was like. They specifically designed a team to go and like beat Rich's team, and I think they finished in like 8th place. And it's like, you can't just be individual athletes. Like you actually have to work as a team, to be a good team. And
exactly.
I'm wondering what that's going to be like for some of these individuals that are like switching over, like how they're going to be able to make that. If if they're going to be able to make that transition, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it will definitely be interesting. I think it's they'll have to start early and not just like, oh, we'll train, like we'll come here for the open and just do the open, don't worry about team training, and then maybe like a week or two before quarterfinals, like that's all fine and dandy. It's all right at semifinals. If you didn't really train up to that point, maybe the week before, I mean, I feel like you're gonna fall apart, especially at the games. You're gonna fall apart if you haven't had that time together.
Right. I was just about to say, like, you probably won't get exposed at quarterfinals just because your capacity is so much better than everybody. So like, if you make a mistake, like, oh, guess what? I can still go 15 unbroken ring muscle ups in the round of third, or round 15 or whatever, But like when you get to the games, you're absolutely going to be exposed because now you're competing against all these other people who are almost, if not fitter than you now. And like the level of game just got upped even more, you know? So, and that's, I think that's where you start to see a lot of these like kind of super teams or high level individuals fall apart is at the games level. Maybe not necessarily at the quarterfinals level because their capacity is just so much higher, but but like the games is the ultimate test of teamwork,
Exactly.
And so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. I really just do think is if they do have a super team, it has to be something like Annie did, where it's like, hey, you're here January such and such date, and we train all the time. Like I think that team would have been great if Lauren didn't get hurt right before, because they did train together all the time. Whereas I think the proven team this year, they definitely had times that they trained together, and they definitely had times where everybody were scattered.
Right, yeah. And I think that was a little bit different from the past. I had talked to Andrea at regional or semifinals.
It's literally all the same. Regional, sanctional, semifinals.
Same thing. And I had asked her like how she was like. It seems like you have a fun team this year. She had actually mentioned that it was a little bit more fun when she was on Rich's team, and I'm wondering if that was just more so like camaraderie based or something like that.
I could definitely see that.
Was there just like, because Rich, I think, understands like, yes, he does have a super team, but he's like, hey, you're moving here and you're training here full time,
right? Yeah.
And like, I don't know what exactly their setup was when that was the case when they were training there, but it did seem like they were there a significant amount of time training as a team together.
Right, and I think that makes it more fun. Like when you actually like when you get to train together full time, like you actually like, become friends.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you like come for a little bit, leave, come for a little bit, leave, it's like, okay, you're just here for a job. Like of course like we'll be like cordial and whatnot, but you don't really develop those relationships.
Totally. Yeah. And that's one of the funnest things about teams is like developing that.
I absolutely love my teammates, and I mean with me I'm just like I want to go team again with you guys. Like I don't, but I'm always going to keep up with them. Even seeing my teammates from the West Chase team, it was so much fun being able to catch up, and there's no bad blood whatsoever. Even if I was competing against them,
right.
Or just like it's just like they're always going to be family to me.
Yep. Yeah, that's always a fun part. You always know somebody at a competition now.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
I like maybe a little bit like too well. Where it's like, oh man, they know I'm gonna fall apart, but I know they're gonna fall apart.
Yeah, right. For sure. Okay, so kind of changing gears here a little bit. We had actually sat down before this and just kind of chatted for a while, but you had an interesting perspective of injuries that happen at the games, and like to caveat this as well, like when you are playing a sport, you always have injuries in the sport. Like they're unavoidable. And like CrossFit isn't any different. Like, yes, it is the sport of fitness, but it is also a sport, and it's a hard sport on your body.
Right.
So and over the years, you've kind of seen like, oh, a lot of people have back issues. Well, then kind of the coaching staff or like the community figures out how to, shore up the back. A lot of people have knee issues. The community figures out how to shore up the knee. And like this year, you were saying you saw a lot of like elbow and specifically UCL injuries.
Right.
Can you just talk a little bit more about that, and then maybe like what the next step is from there?
Yeah. I mean, I think just like over the past few years, we've been seeing this like propensity of a lot of elbow injuries, whether it's UCL tears, dislocations,
shattering like Brookwell.
Things along those lines. I mean, I know with me, like I have like medial elbow tendinopathy, golfer's elbow. Like that it's been a thing for like the past couple years with me. And I know I'm not alone in that boat. We have a lot of pulling, we have a lot of grip.
Right.
I think, and I just like low back pain, just like with knee pain, I when it was like, I know coaches do a really good job of making sure that like prep exercises are programmed.
Mm-hmm.
They are like, athletes do go to see physical therapists, chiros,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that it's like they're getting like the recovery that they need, but also the exercises for warm ups, for cool downs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the same thing with elbows. It's like, all right, now when seeing a program, it's like, okay, maybe it's like you have to see like how much pulling you're doing, or the aggravating movement, let's
Mm-hmm.
say, that makes the elbow pain worse.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing, okay, like how much pushing, upper body pushing are we doing, and developing like tighter lats, or upper body pulling or pecs, and then upper body pulling to get tight lats, so we're not in good position, so we compromise anytime that we snatch or
Mm-hmm.
go overhead, that transmits more forces to the elbow,
Mm-hmm.
that could affect us. So now, instead of being stacked and just like our joints being able to take the brunt, all right, now it's going to our ligaments that they shouldn't be taking on that much strain, and that's why they pop.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a thing that Tommy John's going to be now like, oh, everybody's going to get Tommy John surgery, so we don't have these UCL tears, which that'd be crazy if that happens. And then now, like, instead of Tommy John, it's now like, all right, we perform like this proactive surgery, so you're not going to snap tear your UCLs. It makes no money whatsoever.
Right.
That'd be something.
That'd be wild.
But I definitely think it's something of you definitely have to take into account all the upper body things that you're doing in one's programming, and like actually like keeping an eye on what their positions look like. Maybe you don't do like as much fatigue snatching, or even if it is like a jerk, typically it's just snatching that we've been seeing the UCL tears. But it's like, okay, if you are feeling a little bit like unstable in your shoulders, or if you don't see that you're catching bars that well, you're definitely having this forward lean, and then relying on your shoulders and elbows and wrist to be able to stabilize and like you're like saving every single lift rather than like actually catching it cleanly, especially way far out. Like if you're super far out from competition, or maybe like in the couple weeks prior, just being like, hey, like maybe we stay away from this and focus on technique, and then actually do a lot of rehab around the elbow, as prep, as accessory work. And even if someone doesn't have elbow pain, it's never a bad thing to just make sure that they can get stacked, and just working on those little things that, hey, it might be like just like a little bit of a movement flaw now, but down the road it could be major and end in injury.
Right. So what, like, I guess diving into the details of that, what does like what movements look like addressing that problem? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I'm just saying like, oh, like you gave me someone's program and just like the specific warm-up or like exercises
and like activation drills or like cool down. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. With me, I'll do a lot of dumbbell or just like small plate, wrist flexion holds. Same with extension. Sometimes do like eccentrics that way. I prefer holds, but then also doing like different kinds of grip, whether it's pinch grip, neutral grip. You can do like toe or like leg assisted pull-up holds. Just if like for me, upper body pulling definitely gets my elbows, along with handstand walking. So like sometimes I'll do like slow dumbbell skull crushers so I can get like my triceps to loosen up. Doing a lot of thoracic mobility that way. I don't have to be in this precarious position where I can actually stay upright in my overhead squat and not have to rely on just my elbows and my elbows hyperextending to catch the bar, because I definitely, take the open workout. There were definitely some where I just like, when I caught, I was like, I'm so glad my UCLs are intact right now. So definitely having a lot of book openers, thoracic rotations, thrown into warm-ups.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll even do rows and being able to like actually row through the movement to build my thoracic rotation and be able to keep it.
Yeah.
So like adding stuff like that. So things that actually address the forearm flexors and extensors, whether it just be holds or small movements here and there.
Yeah.
Even messing around with some pronation, supination with a baseball bat or a light dumbbell.
Yeah.
And then working on thoracic mobility, being able to just like stay in a stacked position rather than super broken and having to like rely. I feel like actually there's a lot of good shoulder prep that CrossFitters do. It actually saves CrossFitters. And we need to, instead of like only focusing on the shoulder, we need to like look up and down the chain. So okay, we have our elbow prep and then we have our thoracic mobility prep.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about why rotation is important for the sport of CrossFit, even though we don't move in it at all?
No. So, I mean, if you lose a range of motion in like any of our, if you lose, so in like life, it's like, okay, if we move, it's like we can flex and extend.
Yeah.
We can abduct and adduct, and then we can rotate. If we lose one of those freedoms of range of motion, that just affects like the other ranges of motion as well. So if we lose our like ability to rotate, it's like, all right, like our actually it's like now we're just like stuck in like a flex or a more extended position. Also, it's just like it's really good for joints to know like how to be strong and stable in those ranges of motion just in case something goes wrong, because we don't move perfectly. No one moves perfectly. So if you don't have access to where you catch a snatch or the ability to cut things along those lines, like if your tendons and muscles can't take that range of motion, well, something's going to get. It's going to be a ligament. It's going to be a joints capsule. It's going to be bone. It's going to be something that it's like if you don't train it, you lose it, and then when you can't rely on it anymore. So I think that's why we need to be able to rotate. We need to be able to like move side to side. Those are things that are exposed to, like in our sport just slightly. That I mean, we just aren't prepared for with just like the base movements that we have.
Yeah. So like, I should take back, we don't move in it, but like there is a significant rotation component to like the bottom of an overhead squat or a snatch, right? Could you like describe that a little bit more? Because I think people think they just see like, okay, I take the bar from the ground and I go overhead, but like there's a lot more that goes into like receiving and catching that bar. Could you just like explain that to people?
Right. It's like, okay, so it's like we think that it's like something big here is like, all right, everybody knows about hip like internal and external rotation. So I think it's all right at the bottom squat. Once we pass parallel, we need to like be able to like actually like hip internally rotate to be able to stay stacked. If we stay in this like externally rotated position, I know this for a fact. Unless like a super toe out, I'm definitely going to be pivoted forward. Same thing like at like the shoulder joint, internal and external rotation. Like, all right, like I can put my arm overhead. I don't have like the best external rotation, so I'm catching in this internally rotated position. You need to be able to train both. That way, it's like, all right, if you do catch here, it's like, all right, you're not going to like tear your labrum by any means.
Right.
And even just like say like at the ankle with rotation, a lot of people do have ankle dorsiflexion issues, which that means they can't get into the bottom of their squat that well. But like our ankle doesn't just move up and down. It does have some rotation to it that both like at the foot itself and then at your tibia and femurs and for your shin. So if you can't rotate there, you actually can't dorsiflex. There has to be some rotation there. So like in the end, it's like we need to train like all these ranges of motions so you can like just like actually move, or else that's how you get your compensation patterns. And I think more and more people are realizing that like you can't, we can't just like live in this one plane. I know with me, even like sometimes running, I'll get hip pain running in a certain direction because I haven't trained that at all. Like even just like in sports, it's like I rotated in one direction,
right?
And now it's like the like anytime that I think it's like when I turn right, just like that turn just like lights up my hip just because like that's not, I did the opposite way in sports all the time too.
Right.
So I think like actually programs should, especially if it's your off season, like throw in some med ball tosses, you can do a lot of stuff with landmines, and we should actually build rotation and movement, not just working on like anti-rotation type stuff, because I think that's very prevalent. Because that's, I mean, people need core stability, but they also need rotational strength.
Right. Yeah, I actually think you get core stability pretty well from most programs right now.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's really, put out a good ability to like rotate inside of those programs. Because like you said, med ball tosses, like legit, like last year I found out that like if I do 50 med ball tosses on one side in a row, now I'm opened up. Before I was doing like 10 to 12, you know?
Right.
Like the amount of volume I think that you just need is, people really haven't figured that out yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then like how to incorporate that into a program.
Right. But I think it's also how many reps we do in like the other planes versus that one that like they need a match.
Yeah.
So it's like you need to do 50. Yeah. You need to frequently be exposed to it to be able to like keep that. It's kind of like if you don't use it, you lose it sort of principle.
Right.
So yeah, you need to be frequent. You need to do a lot of reps. You need to do them frequently.
Yeah.
So that your body, because we do all the other stuff so much. That's the sport. Like that you're obviously going to do that in a workout and warm ups and in preps and all this stuff.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, no, and like accessory work, like you need to build like, it's like, okay, it's so repetitive and you're like, I'm doing so many of those. Yeah. But in the grand scheme of things, it's just because it's so condensed in accessory work.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Oh, 89.
Oh, dang.
Got it.
It is getting hot in here.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think that's probably the next, like, honestly, like the UCL thing and like the rotation stuff and like really figuring out how to throw in that rotation stuff, I think is probably the next direction of like a lot of these programs. But
I think it's coming over time. I think actually like in the sport of CrossFit we realize that we have to be more athletic.
Yeah.
Especially at the games level.
Oh yeah.
So
for sure.
I know that's gonna be my entire off season.
Yeah.
Like I can go play pickup basketball and it'll probably develop me better in the sport of CrossFit than if I was in the gym.
Yeah. No, don't. Bust spike ball.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so much fun. Yeah. I would love to do that.
So much fun, yeah. Well, sweet. I think wrapping up here, what's next for you?
I mean, really with me, just taking this off season to develop my weaknesses. This past off season was a bunch of injuries, so I'm very grateful that this time I get to like go in head on.
Yeah.
I'm doing an individual competition in October.
Sweet.
Then Crash. I am doing Crash.
Oh, okay, cool.
So very excited. It'll be my second year. I went in 21.
Okay.
So I love that competition.
Yeah.
So very excited to go there, and then maybe Wadapalooza. I haven't decided.
Yeah.
I would like to go team, but the qualifiers are right during Crash. So it might be something that I'm just like, I'll just go to Miami to get a tan and be warm in January. Yeah. And then really the CrossFit season, I plan to go team.
Yeah.
So I don't know who my teammates are going to be yet.
Yeah, no doubt.
But that's the plan this season.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see you around here and see you successfully at the CrossFit Games again.
I appreciate that. I mean, I hope the same with you guys.
For sure. Well, thanks for listening, guys. How do people find you on Instagram or get a hold of you?
Yeah. On Instagram, I'm at GoSoHardy, and I'm pretty good with my messages, so I'm on my phone most of the time. You can also find like all my chiropractic services there too.
Okay. So. Awesome. Yeah. Sweet. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe below, and we will catch you guys next time here.